China and Russia have been
supplying weapons to Cuba.
China has been operating a spy base in Cuba.
China has military and espionage facilities in Cuba.
Did you know that China
is building a spy base in Cuba? China is reportedly using Cuba for espionage.
Today, Sunday, we are in a small town about 40 minutes from Havana. There is a strong tradition here of a kind of carnival that takes place in December. There is also an important pharmaceutical industry here, which now, obviously, because of the blockade, is closed. But we came here for a reason. The United States, in reports and also in statements from politicians, they say there is a secret Chinese military base here in this town, which basically serves to operate some surveillance antennas, as if they were antennas to listen to what people say in the United States. We came here to try to find out where it is, if this base actually exists, and to talk to the locals to see if they've seen the mysterious Chinese people walking around here. The intervention of the United States also caused another problem in Cuba and in small villages like this one. This village was chosen to receive, believe it or not, humanitarian aid from the United States. Planes coming from the United States with sacks of food that are in theory distributed to the entire population. This is handled by the Catholic Church. Here is the wall of the Berrucal Cathedral. It says here, right? Yeah, fascist priests distribute the donation properly. In other words, church distribute the donation well. Why? Because the food obviously doesn't reach the whole population. The food is rationed out in small quantities. And this, of course, coming from the United States, ends up also serving to create chaos among the population. The people turn against the local authorities because they are not distributing the little food that arrives here properly. So it's yet another way to interfere in the local politics here. The antenna system might even seem a bit comical or folkloric, but in reality, it's very serious because the United States is even using this in official reports to criminalize and label many organizations here in Cuba as terrorist organizations. We climbed up to the top of a mountain to look for those satellites, those antennas. The only thing we managed to see from up here is Biosan, which you can see back there, which is that large pharmaceutical plant that makes more complex medicines that now, of course, because of the energy and naval blockade, due to the lack of oil and electricity, is closed. As for antennas or satellites, we didn't see anything around here. Of course, this situation creates a lot of tension. We ended up returning to Havana because we were discovered and forbidden to continue filming there. Because, of course, just imagine the local police, who could even be Asians, obviously, from the United States. We are now in Havana. We looked for the antennas. Obviously, we didn't find any. There is no Chinese or Russian base there, only a lack of food and medicine. A lot of hunger, a lot of desperation among the population.
They sell everything, and today there's a lack of electricity, so you can't buy anything that's refrigerated.
Yeah, the lack of electricity means you can't use your air conditioner, so you have to deal with the heat and you can't use the lights either. And these people walking around, are they mostly from the city?
Cubans who, for example, take the opportunity to escape the blackouts at home, look for some fresh air, and also take their kids out for a walk, who are on vacation, even at this time of year.
People are out on the streets a lot because of the heat too, right?
Heat, exactly. Imagine a house without light, without electricity. Closed. And imagine, you can't use a fan, nothing to relieve the heat. So people go out into the street.
In December, there was still a little electricity, but now there's almost nothing left, right?
Of course.
When did it start getting worse? In January?
Why. The energy blockade I was talking about. I mean, after the capture of Nicolás Maduro on January 13th. Then, on January 29th, Trump declared the energy blockade. I mean, every country that sends. In state pharmacies, there are almost no medicines left. Also because of the economic embargo, well, it's not really an embargo, let's call it a blockade. An economic blockade that doesn't even allow the production of pharmaceutical products due to a lack of raw materials and all that. And they don't arrive, the raw materials don't arrive on time. And that's why pharmacies are running short. There are almost no medicines to offer and sell to people who really need them, who have high blood pressure, diabetes, and so on. And they end up with almost no care.
We're here on Via del Camino, which is a popular market area, right, where they sell clothes, shoes, hygiene kits, toothpaste, sanitary pads, soap, deodorant, shoes as well. As we walk around here, there are a lot of people selling, for example, sneakers and shoes. They often sell just one shoe. So sometimes a person buys one shoe and then has to buy the other shoe somewhere else. And we also came here to look for medicine. As you saw, the pharmacies are completely empty. The medicines don't arrive anymore, mostly because of the blockade. What's happening in Cuba now is actually a naval blockade, which according to international conventions is considered an act of war. So the medicines don't arrive here either. So people here started selling medicine on the street, by the roadside, as they say, right? So we're going to look here for some of the simplest medicines: paracetamol, aspirin, even controlled medications, medications for depression. None of these types of medicines have been arriving here. So we're going to take a walk and see what we find and what people are looking for as well. We're trying to understand a little bit about the humanitarian crisis in the nation, just to get a sense of how things are. What kind of medicines do people look for the most? Everything. Can I film a little to see how things are?
Is it?
Posso filmar un poco para ver cómo está?
Film what? Yes, I'm selling here. Hey.
It's one of those popular street markets, and it ended up becoming a place where people come looking for pharmacy items in general. Not just medicine, but also gas and syringes. Many times, people have to undergo some operation, go to the hospital, or something more complex. Often, the hospitals are running on oil and diesel generators. They keep the minimum necessary power in the hospitals. But people might arrive at the hospitals and there is no gas, no cotton, no IV fluids, no syringes, no needles. So they turn to places like this as well, to look for what they need, to be able to have their surgeries done, especially their surgeries.
At that stage, in those difficult days when Cuba was struggling between life and death, the US administration planned a set of measures, a strategy, also in the economic sphere, to wipe out the revolution. And that strategy is connected to what we are experiencing in 2026. I mean, when we were dying from COVID-19, the United States was planning and executing a law every day to tighten and economically benefit from Cuba. It's also very well known and sad, because I think it's an evil thing that we suffered back then when our oxygen plant broke down and we tried and asked many countries for help. The United States, being so close, didn't give us any help. And so do those 243 measures that were adopted during that period still continue today with the oil blockade, with what we are suffering today in Cuba, which is already extreme, a breakdown of decency in international relations. We are witnessing an attempt at genocide in Cuba by the administration of Donald Trump. Together with a group of Cubans who left Cuba, who have received money, who have now become millionaires in the United States, have isolated the country for ideological reasons.
I have a 30-day treatment, and they should give me 30 pills, one per day. The problem is that it doesn't come every month. For example, now it arrived, but it hadn't come for 3 months. I had already been buying privately for 2 months. My daughter looks in online groups, and we call the person, and they bring us the medications, or we pay for delivery as well.
Yes.
Because if I don't, it's not enough for me. And that's it. Those are the ones they give me. Because there's another one, for example. Let me give you an example. I'm fine, but suddenly I get sick and I need an antibiotic. You have to look for it on the internet, in the groups, on Revolico. The pharmacies don't have it. At Duragina, which is a painkiller that you should always have at home in case of a headache. You have to buy it elsewhere. I mean, most medications, you have to buy them all, except for people who have a tarjetone like me, those who are diabetic, those who are hypertensive, they get that medication. But the thing is, it doesn't come every month. Also, for those who need it, it's not enough either. This is disinobrid, hydrochlorothiazide. This is to eliminate the fluid.
Rosa, do you think this whole situation in Cuba with the oil, the blockade, does this affect that too? Of course.
Of course, because, for example, this medication is produced here.
Yes, but the supplies don't arrive, the
Exactly.
materials.
The blockade affects everything here. The truth is that we're on the blockade, right? In medicines, in food, in everything.
I saw medicines in the streets with people like in Aquavita or other places because I was there.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't buy from that person because I don't know if where it comes from, I don't know. You have to be careful, and sometimes expired medications are delicate things.
They can be fake too. Yes, they're out in the sun, they're in conditions.
Me, let's see, almost always, whenever we bought medications, the people who travel, people we know who travel or who are
I understood, it's what they bring.
they bring them and they're trustworthy.
Do you understand?
Because anyone can get through in Havana. You walk through the arcades of Centro Havana and everyone is selling medicine.
Yes, on the street, yes.
On the avenue, that's where people set up to sell. I don't buy them, I don't know.
You've never bought any.
There are people I don't know. I don't buy anything good from them.
As you saw, one of the main types of medication people look for and talk about a lot are antidepressants. Of course, sleeping pills, medicine to stay awake, to have energy. Yeah, there is a silent epidemic of mental health problems in the country. Obviously, because of the blockade, people are without fuel, without energy, without water, often having to fight for food. So it's an epidemic that hasn't been publicly identified yet, or at least not publicized. But most of the medications people are looking for, or a good part of them, are these mental health medications.
The essence of what this is about is exterminating a revolution. That's it. That's it, that's all. Because it has a different political vision from US policy. And another very important thing, there is a great fear, there always has been, that Cuba might prosper, that Cuba might have economic results. Because then it's a bad example. So
What?
do I try to isolate you? Do I try to bring you closer? That you don't have economic results, you see, that's the moment Cuba is living in. You have to understand that from a country that for 7 months now, there hasn't been almost no ships come in. They're prohibited. I mean, the supplies, the airlines. With no oil in Cuba, now nobody flies. I mean, you're living right now in Cuba an extremely difficult moment where they're trying to wipe out the population at all costs, really, without compassion, and telling them either you surrender or you die.
Medication for depression,
Yes,
for
yes.
sleeping.
I'm putting it here. Look, this is an antibiotic.
Amoxicillin.
This is for the pancreas, for people with pancreas issues. This is for asthma. This is the valproate that was sent by Greek Solidarity, which has helped very, very, very young children, very young. Anyway, and this, for example, this is tranexamic acid. Tranexamic acid is used a lot for patients in the programming segment.
This one here is also injectable, right? It's intravenous. These
You
here
resist.
are gloves.
They're for surgery, they're surgical gloves.
Gloves.
Surgical gloves, they are specialized gloves. They are for surgery, they are not regular gloves, they are surgical gloves.
And there are many people who are in a hospital here,
course, well, sure,
looking
sure.
here for...
During COVID, we sent 58 medical brigades all over the world. And we have taught millions of people around the world to read and write with the Yossi-Purda method. Every time there is a natural disaster, Cuba sends medical aid, as was the famous case of Haiti, and there were the 200
In
very
Italy
elderly
as
as
well.
well. So that's exactly what they don't want from Cuba. I mean, a rebellious country that doesn't think the same way you do, but that can help people, that they don't want to see progress because it's a bad example. So that's what they're trying to eliminate, to root out, to end once and for all. So what I can tell you is we resist. Those of us who believe in justice, those who believe and those who feel deeply Cuban, you don't abandon your homeland. And you don't just love your homeland when things are good. You defend it when there are problems, when there are situations. And that's what we're doing. I'm about to turn 65. I still have a bit of youth left. Since there's no oil, since there's no fuel, I go around with this cart. Carrying medicine, I distribute it, and I've decided that as long as I can walk, as long as my legs hold up, I don't need fuel for this. I don't need solar energy. This is powered by this engine right here, which is the will of the Cuban people.
Is life worse since the blockade?
Yes, well, we've always lived with blockade since 1960. Before, you could get around it. There were other possibilities, but not today. Our electrical system is very weak because the things that cause the electrical system to fail have always existed, but the system used to be stronger. There was more resilience, yes, and you didn't even notice it.
Yes,
I mean, the damage never reached the people.
I understand.
But now the system is so weak that for any little thing, the power goes out. The power goes out.
Can you show me a bit?
Come in, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't see anything. I'll use my phone as a flashlight here. A light.
You know what?
Is she living here?
Yes.
Alone? Just Lute? Yes.
With my mom?
With your mom.
Of course.
I'm going to turn on my phone's flashlight here because it's really hard to see. This is the refrigerator. The medications are here. Look guys, medication. People already leave them here because when the power comes back, the door ends up closing. Look here, just a few grains, some food.
The medicines that are in the fridge, you leave them there because when the power comes back,
they're a bit protected, yes, because you register to have it.
So that no one makes up stories. Because there's always some idiot who says this is a lie. And look, come on.
Because people say it's a lie that there's no electricity. He said his record was 42 hours. But at your house, you ended up going without it for even longer, right?
Yeah.
And he said he's recording it there. Why? I didn't understand.
Because he said he doesn't want anyone, for example, to say otherwise, that it's a lie.
They say there's no blackouts here.
That there aren't blackouts that last that long.
Yes.
So look, artists, listen to this.
What the United States administration, which includes Marco Rubio, the president, and another group, what they are doing with this country is criminal. It's criminal. The way the United States has always treated Cuba was criminal throughout history. It was always criminal. But what they are doing now goes beyond any limits that decent and sensible people might have had. I think not even Ronald Reagan, who was one of the worst to ever be there, dared to do this. Here, infant mortality rose from 4 to 9.9. Is that this year? Yes, now, in this short period of time, that's around 2,000 dead children, about 2,000 newborn children dead. But it's thanks to them. That's 100% thanks to them. So in that case, I can't blame the Cuban government. That's their fault.
Yes.
A lot of people, like me, think, this is my opinion, that the performance of the current administration in Cuba is the worst it could be. Very few people believe, except for those who have a private business, that such broad openings for private businesses are going to solve the problem. A set of measures is adopted, and the only immediate result is that private business owners benefit. No country is saved just because it opens 100 coffee shops. And there are decisions that I don't criticize that much. But yes, I am criticizing the ones that are being made now. With such a big opening and with so much focus on Europe, when Europe is ultimately a vassal to whatever the United States says. So here, there's no need to look to Europe. There's no need to look north.